What if everything about you was overlooked, your age, your size, your position, your name, written off before you ever had the chance to speak? What if the people closest to you could not see what God had already placed inside you? What if the very wilderness that seemed to be wasting your years was actually preparing you for a moment that would change the course of history? There was a boy in the hills of Bethlehem, no throne, no title, no army at his back, just open fields, a wooden staff, and a sky full of stars that only he seemed to notice. He tended sheep, he sang to God in the dark, he fought lions and bears when no one was watching, not for glory, not for applause, but because the flock was his responsibility and he took that seriously. His name was David, and though the world had not yet heard of him, heaven already had. To understand David's story you have to understand the world he was born into. Israel had a king, his name was Saul, tall and impressive, the kind of man people pointed to and said yes, that is what a king looks like. But over time Saul's heart drifted, he chose his own way over God's way, his pride over obedience, his fear over faith. So the word of the Lord came to a prophet named Samuel, an old man whose ears had been tuned to the voice of God since childhood. God told Samuel to fill his horn with oil and go to Bethlehem to the house of Jesse, for God had chosen one of his sons to be the next king of Israel. Samuel obeyed, and Jesse lined up his sons, 7 of them, tall and strong, and when the first son stepped forward Samuel felt certain, surely this is the one, but God stopped him. Samuel listened as son after son passed before him, and the answer remained the same, not this one, not this one, not this one. Samuel was confused. He asked Jesse if all his sons were present. Jesse paused. There was one more, the youngest, out in the fields tending the sheep, the kind of task given to the one the family could most easily send away. They sent for him, and while they waited heaven held its breath. When David walked in, sun-browned and bright-eyed, the youngest of 8 brothers, the one no one had thought to call, God spoke. Rise and anoint him, this is the one. Samuel poured oil over David's head right there in the middle of his father's house, not in a palace, not before a crowd of thousands, but in a quiet room with a handful of witnesses who had no idea what they were watching. From that day forward the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David, not gradually, not partially, powerfully. But David did not sit on a throne immediately. He returned to the fields, back to the sheep, back to the silence, because God's anointing does not always come with instant elevation. Sometimes it comes with continued faithfulness in the place where no one is looking. David remained faithful in the wilderness between the promise and its fulfillment, that long quiet stretch of time where most people give up and go home. Then the moment came that would make his name echo across centuries. The Philistine army gathered for war, and standing at the front of their line was a giant named Goliath. He stood over 9 feet tall, draped in bronze armor so heavy it would have crushed many men before battle even began. His spear was like a weaver's beam, and his voice rolled across the valley like thunder. Every morning for 40 days he walked to the edge of his camp and shouted the same challenge at Israel.
Why do you come out and line up for battle? I am a Philistine and you are servants of Saul. Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us. This day I defy the armies of Israel.
And every day the army of Israel stood frozen, King Saul himself trembling among them. Then a shepherd boy arrived at the camp carrying bread and cheese for his brothers. David had come as an errand boy, but when he heard the giant's voice something stirred inside him that fear had not yet buried. He began asking questions. Who is this Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? His older brother Eliab grew angry and accused him of pride, but David turned away and kept asking, because contempt from those closest to you can be one of the sharpest tests of purpose. Word reached King Saul that a young man was willing to fight the giant. Saul summoned David and looked at him with doubt.
You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth.
But David spoke with quiet certainty.
The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine.
Saul placed his armor on David, a bronze helmet and heavy coat, but David could barely move. It was not his, so he took it off. He walked to a stream and chose 5 smooth stones with calm deliberation, then he picked up his sling and crossed the valley toward the giant. Goliath laughed when he saw him.
Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? Come here, and I will give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals.
But David answered with something deeper than courage.
You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands.
Then David ran toward the giant. He reached into his bag, placed a stone in his sling, and released it. The stone flew through the air and struck the forehead of Goliath, and the giant fell face down into the dust. What an army could not do in 40 days, one boy with faith accomplished in a single moment. Israel erupted with victory, the Philistines fled, and David walked away from the battlefield carrying the head of a giant, stepping into a destiny written over him long before that day. But the story did not end there, because the road from anointing to throne is rarely straight. Saul soon grew jealous as the people sang that David had slain tens of thousands. Saul saw David not as a gift but as a rival. He hurled spears at him and sent soldiers to kill him, and David the anointed king became a fugitive hiding in caves. Yet even in the darkness David wrote songs to God, pouring out both his pain and his trust. There were moments he could have killed Saul, moments when vengeance seemed easy, but David refused. He would not raise his hand against the one God had anointed. David understood something rare, that the crown God places on your head does not need to be seized by your hands. His life was not perfect, he stumbled and failed in painful ways, but every time he fell he returned to God, he confessed, he wept, he worshipped, and God remained faithful. In time Saul died in battle, and the long season of waiting ended. David became king over Israel. He captured Jerusalem and brought the Ark of the Covenant into the city with joy, dancing before the Lord with all his strength. David's story still echoes across centuries because it speaks to anyone who has ever felt overlooked or unqualified. If God could take a forgotten boy from the fields of Bethlehem and write his name into eternity, then no wilderness you walk through is without purpose. The valley is not the end, it is where God shows up. The giant that fills your days with fear is not the final word. The battle does not belong to the strongest soldier in the field, it belongs to the Lord, and he has never lost one yet.